counter-gank, but the flame splitter and the harpoons. First blood to Origin. And H2K applying pressure. Exile, flash, and ghost is available. The stun finds its target. Here comes the Anchors.
And they're going to realm war behind Cavs to see if they can finish him off. It's a quick flash, but they follow it right over the wall, completely isolated, and Maxmore gets his first kill of the game.
To Berlin, we are coming to you live at our final day of competition for the week. And tonight, the battles between Group A and Group B continue. Earlier, H2K and ROCCAT were setting up on stage for our first match of the evening, as we see them taking to the stage there. Odawamne heading the troops, a happy Jankos and a happy February, and also Betsy and ROCCAT setting up, probably giving the final notes. Hello, everyone. I'm Eve Fischo's supporter, and joining me is Martin de Fischio Lunge. I just need you today. You're going to break it all down.
Okay, fine. I'm okay with that. I'm also pretty okay with the games from yesterday. I actually think they're very enjoyable to watch, so hopefully we get some good ones today.
Yeah, definitely. Looking back at what we saw yesterday as a cross-group play continued, the Misfits, they looked dominant against Splice, taking the match 2-0. I expected it to be 3 games. You didn't.
Of course not. I mean, easy to say in hindsight that we all knew Misfits would be the heavy favorites, but honestly, they play fantastic League of Legends right now. I think they're exceeding expectations coming into the split. We knew they were going to be a good team, but we didn't expect them in week 4 to look like one of the best teams in Europe. Like individual players, late game shot calling, it's all there. Especially
the improvement from weeks 1, 2 to 3 and 4 is something that we hadn't expected out of them. On the other side, Splice not showing up that much. The Fisho, have Splice reached their ceiling?
I think if they play like this in week 7 or 8, then we can say 100% yes, they have. But right now, a little bit too early, maybe in the split. I think we can question a lot of things about these guys here. Maybe what they're showing is that last split was just a much weaker European split, and that's why they were able to get 2nd place. But again, I think that's also a little bit too early to kind of call them out there and say they are actually not good enough to be a top team. They have issues, synergy, communication, individual play even. A lot of stuff they need to work on, and it's actually a shame watching this team play like this.
Oh, that is a heavy judgment from the Fisher. If that doesn't make you clean your act up, Splice, what will? Following that matchup, Fnatic, they took out Vitality 2-1. It was a bit of a struggle. It wasn't pretty, but Broxa did come onto the team, and did he fix all of Fnatic's problems?
Every single one. I mean, they won, right? So he fixed all of it. I think Broxa did fine. He did his job. I don't think he was that important when it came down to how Fnatic were winning games. So very clear that just replacing Amazing is not going to make Fnatic a super team instantly. All in all, though, he had a fine performance. Fnatic, they get the victory. I think the 3rd game was very, very shaky and could have gone both ways. But a win is a win.
A win is a win. Vitality could have said the same. They at least won one of the games. And we gotta say, GBM in the mid lane looked okay. Nuktak on support, surprisingly, did quite well.
I mean, yeah, Vitality coming into this, it looks like a mess. You know, they're making changes. Mid laner becomes support. One of the best performing players was Nuktak in the mid lane, but they moved him to support. He did fine down there, especially in the 3rd game. GBM Xerath, we loved it. However, the macro game, I loved it at least. I was like hoping he was actually going to carry the game because he's playing Xerath and no one else is doing that. But Vitality, it's just, they have so many things they still need to work on. I'm not sure more roster changes is going to help them. They need time, but you don't really have a lot of time because they're already sitting outside of playoffs. Luckily for them, Splice are also losing just above them.
I love your positive approach. Well, he's playing Xerath. We don't see that. Not because maybe he can't play anything else.
He almost carried. He just got caught a few times in fights. He didn't run cleanse. There were a few things we could highlight.
It was entertaining. It was also a day of Group A victories yesterday with the Misfits and Fnatic cementing their places in 2nd and 3rd respectively, as to be expected from week 4 from the games that we had on our plates. But then here, of course, nothing changed in 1 and 2 yesterday.
No, because Splice Vitality both lost, so there's not going to be any sort of changes here. Unicorn still 1st place, undefeated.
Still, Splice has to beat themselves up because they're needing those wins to catch up to H2K.
I guess maybe if you are Splice and Fnatic, as long as the teams under you keep losing as well, you are keeping your playoff spot. You just don't enter a playoff as a favorite.
And there is a big chance of that today, as later we will see if G2 can maintain their perfect record when they take on Group B's bottom-placed Origin. And, Well, today can go one of two ways, as expected, or a huge upset.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that G2 and H2K are pretty heavy favorites coming into this. That being said, in Europe, we've had these upset days before where suddenly the top teams just can't play League of Legends and the bottom teams show up big time. Could happen. I think it's more realistic that we get the 2-0s for H2K and G2.
So, as looking at the league from, if we take a step back, you would want the better teams to absolutely smash the bottom tier teams for kind of the credibility, or not?
I mean, you want your top teams to be consistent, to be like a strong region, but sometimes it is fun seeing the upsets. So I don't know. It depends if you want entertainment or if you want the consistent top teams.
6 games, I'll take it. But first up tonight, ROCCAT will be up against Group B's second place H2K. H2K obviously have their eye on that first place, on that bye, but Unicorns of Love are sitting there. They played G2 on the first day of the week. They lost, but we can say it was a good showing from them overall.
It was a match between two really good teams in Europe right now. We're still early on in the split, so it's acceptable that you have some issues that you need to work on. Good macro game overall in this series, a little bit slower than maybe people have expected from some other games. We saw good individual outplays from H2K, from Odoamne, especially up in the top lane. And I think we have to highlight the bot lane as well.
Definitely.
Fantastic to see how they're now working better with the team, but also just the individual performance by Nuclear and Che.
And it was a big question. Will the communication falter? The first couple of weeks wasn't running. But here, Nuclear and Che, they were up against Sven and Mithy, and they smashed them.
They destroyed them in lane. I've never seen Mithy feed that much. He died 14 times in that series alone. Most of it came, because Nuclear would just snipe him on Jhin multiple times.
17 kills over the series.
Yeah, see the stats. 17 kills for him, 28 assists for Che as well. They barely died, even though they lost 2 games. Very impressive stats for this H2K bot lane. And if Nuclear and Che can keep doing this, then it's just going to give H2K another lane they can carry from. And they already have mid and top lane and jungle. So that can make H2K very scary too.
They're looking absolutely scary. Even with a loss, you don't often say that, but if there's one team you're going to lose against, for now, it's fine if it's G2.
Sure.
Further in the split, you would, of course, like to beat them. But they look like a solid top 4 team, in Europe, which is where they want to be.
Which is where they want to be. Like Unicorns of Love, G2, H2K, and Misfits right now seem to be a step above everyone else. H2K just got to prove it right now. Obviously, they're playing a bottom team, and it should be fairly easy for them.
We'll see if that happens. That is enough from us. Let's send it over to our casters for a look at their opponents on the other side of the rift, ROCCAT.
Thank you very much, Shocks. And hey, guys, I'm Daniel Dracos. Joining me is Mitch Krabbevorspools. We're about to get into what I hope is a very exciting series between ROCCAT and H2K, but let's just jump right into these lineups, starting on the blue side with Team ROCCAT. In the top lane, it's Faxi. In the jungle, Maxlore. Mid lane, Betsy. AD carry, Hjarnan. Support, Wadid. And, of course, Coach Grabs.
Yeah, they're still sporting that heavily changed roster that was brought up at the start of the season, but they're obviously struggling right now, and that's why today is going to be potentially a very short day, because we have teams playing that are at the bottom of the standings versus, honestly, top 4 teams in Europe. And that's what's going to make it very hard, because this ROCCAT roster has to go up and fight an H2K that did so well versus G2 Esports.
Yeah, and an entire roster that looked so strong in that series. We'll take a look at it now. In the top lane, it's going to be Odoamne. In the jungle, Jankos. Mid lane coming in, it's Fevivin. And then these two, the dynamic duo showing up huge in that series. AD carry Nuclear, support Che, and of course, Coach Prawley.
Yeah, ROCCAT shows blue side, so they're starting with the, I guess, easier draft to play, but it's still going to be quite rough to do, especially because H2K looked strong because they worked on their weak points. That is the thing I saw improve the most is Nuclear and Che, how they looked just now versus how they came into the LCS week 1 and 2. It's almost like a complete difference.
I think we were I'll say I was very quick. I don't want to lump everyone in with this. I was quick to assume that they'd be more passive consistently because we saw that in the first few weeks. And then they just popped off in that series.
It's very hard for us to kind of really dig down unless you go watch their solo queue games, because that's how they played at the start. But they also were given room to grow, and we talked about it at the start of the season as well. We need to see where it goes, because obviously starting into a new team environment is going to be rough. Communication barrier will be rough, but they highlighted some really stellar individual play as well as map play, especially on Che on that Tom Kench. It was very pleasant to see that.
Yeah, beautiful plays, great map movement as well, and now you have to think for ROCCAT, it's one more threat for them to deal with. It may have been easy before to assume a passive bot lane. No longer the case. We head to picks and bans. ROCCAT taking some pretty standards off the table thus far. Zyra, Jace, not looking to give the Zyra over to Che. No one really wants to play against Zyra, regardless.
Yeah, this is something G2 was doing as well, I think. The Zyra Malzahar opener. They're just going to stick with the standard Zyra. I like Rumble Band away against Odoamne as well. It's more likely to force a good tank matchup that you can draw relatively early. We need to see where the priority lies on Ivern for ROCCAT, because that seems to be kind of the flavor of the last 2 weeks.
Well, and really, I think Ivern as a pick just fits so well into what we consider Maxlore as a jungler to do, right? Enables your lanes to be successful, helps other people on your team carry the game. And so we want that from Maxlore, but I also feel like we really want to see Betsy and Hjarnan kind of step up and be big carries for this team.
But to explain that why we think that, we also need to give the context there, right? And if we look at ROCCAT right now, they are struggling, and we wanted to delve a little bit deeper and like, where is ROCCAT really faltering? And we looked at, for example, the CS differentials at 10 and 15 minutes, and they weren't as stark to honestly explain why they were so far behind in gold. And then we looked at objectives, and they weren't that far behind either. Turns out that most of the deficits from ROCCAT are actually generated by not getting many kills themselves and then dying quite a bit themselves as well. So they're playing low pressure styles where Maxlore is forced to go into a deficit as well by showing up too much at his lanes, but nothing is really happening. ROCCAT average a single kill, well 1.1 kills at 15 minutes. That is far too low.
Definitely want to see more action from them in the early game, or to give up less deaths in the early game so they can maintain even. We can see how they come into a mid game, but they're already setting themselves up for success here. That is the Ivern coming out for Maxlore. We have the Ryze locked in as well for Betsy.
Yeah, stylistically, Maxlore is more of a supportive jungler, where he can really make his lanes shine. That I think is the style we saw a lot from him last year, where he kind of took off. It's hard for him to find his footing on picks like Kha'Zix, so I like that they go for the Ivern. Obviously, the rest of the draft, H2K went for power picks on the bot lane. I like this. Investing early in strength with the Malzahar and the Varus. A really strong combination, especially that Zyra's out. Yes, Misfortune is still open, but in the way they drafted it, ROCCAT had to choose jungler, AD carry, and support. They need to pick 2 out of 3 roles, and they let support slide by, which means H2K can likely ban out Misfortune in the second ban phase.
Will set themselves up for a pretty, easy bottom lane. All things considered, at least a strong advantage.
Yeah.
Coming into the early game, Malzahar, of course, especially terrifying past that level 6 point. And Corki now locked in as well. This has been a Febivin special. Definitely one he's enjoyed playing recently and has put up some fantastic numbers on it as well. Yeah,
luckily for H2K, for ROCCAT rather, it's the Malzahar support and not, there's no room for Tahm Kench, because Tahm Kench would slot in beautiful with the Varus and the Corki, because that's again this poke siege comp that a lot of teams have been running with Ivern, with Tahm Kench as protection. Right now they're running it pretty bare. They need some peel in there, so we may see a Shen pickup from Odawamne if it's not banned out.
Taking their time in the second ban phase, MF, as predicted, taken off the board, Elise to follow. And it's been interesting. I feel like we've seen a lot of teams give up on tanks and just go for these team comps that are very squishy, very vulnerable, require that high level of execution. But interestingly enough, Trundle now taken off the board.
Because I think H2K want to play Shen, and they expect ROCCAT with the Elise ban, also forcing themselves to ban Rek'Sai. Why just ban one jungler if you're going to go in, ban both, or they ban maybe Lee Sin away, so they want to really force it seems Jankos on Rek'Sai, but I think he's comfortable playing that jungle right there. So Rek'Sai Shen seems to be like a good composition here, with Rumble taken off the board and the Trundle off the board. I think this is a fine matchup for the Shen to play.
H2K now taking their time. They can save last pick for jungle. They can save last pick for top lane. But what is the priority here? Are they willing to give up the Shen? It looks like they are.
Okay, so they really just want to find a comfortable top lane matchup. Remember, they have counter pick potential here, because obviously the picks will go over to ROCCAT, and they already know what jungler they're playing against, so they're going to cater their jungler against the composition of ROCCAT, or they just really just want Maokai, and they don't care if ROCCAT get the Shen themselves.
Interesting to see what they play. We saw Jankos and Prolly kind of messing around before the game started. Jankos screaming at Prolly, jokingly, of course. Maybe we're going to see something fun. Jankos tweeted out about it as well. Maybe we're going to see something crazy here. Prolly talked a lot about using the stage as another place to practice, to push for more difficult team comps, but there's going to be some difficult lanes here. Foxy picking up the Fiora, going up against Odawamne's Maokai. That's a match we haven't seen in a while.
No, it's Foxy on a carry. It's good if you play with a utility jungler. Obviously, you want to... The combination of top and jungle, usually you want at least have some carry potential in there. I like it. It's a win condition for ROCCAT if Foxy can take off. Can definitely do a lot of work. And they draft Tahm Kench support, which is good into Malzahar, or it's a playable matchup into Malzahar, to also allow for better map movement. So these guys are opting very clearly into a 1-3-1 composition here, ROCCAT, but it is incredibly difficult to play at a very high level.
Well, I really like it. I like that they're setting their teams up for success. Maxlore on a more supportive role. All 3 of the primary carries here, given a champion that can carry, given a champion that can split push, that can snowball leads and larger advantages. It's pretty good to see, but H2K have now rounded out their composition. They're picking up the Graves that has been rising in popularity so very quickly.
No, I like the matchup here. Graves with pushing lanes is an incredibly strong jungler to play, because early game Corki should at least have control of keeping the wave neutral at worst. And then this Varus Malzahn early lane can always push in a melee support like Tahm Kench, let alone that Varus already outpushes Jhin. So these are two pushing lanes where Maokai can be kind of left on an island because Ivern ganks aren't that strong in terms of damage. So if we want to play smart, it gives liberty to Jankos to kind of play the style that he likes playing sometimes as well. Not as much visiting lanes early and snowballing, but he also likes occasionally playing heavy farm invade and just kind of messing with the opposing jungler.
Well, and of course, if we see that, it will mean that there may be less kills given up in the early game by ROCCAT. Maybe that lets them come into the mid game on even keel, which is something we so rarely see. We're finally going to see ROCCAT mid game without a deficit. Maybe we're going to see some improvements in terms of shot call.
Yeah, and that opposed to the honestly stellar early game from H2K, especially when it comes to objectives. These guys take down so many turrets, first bloods, dragons. It's all within their reach, and we need to see if that happens again against ROCCAT.
Really terrifying to play against, too, when you're a team that already feels like they have a struggling early game. But now, coming into it, head on over to Twitter, hashtag H2K win, hashtag ROCCAT win, hashtag ROC win, rather. If you think ROCCAT can take this, if they think they can bring it back. This is a team, of course, with a ton of history, struggling again this season, but not entirely down and out yet. And H2K absolutely have to find a win here.
Now, you see what happens. ROCCAT every week is a new blank sheet of paper where they can write their story on, but if we dig into history, the sheets that have been written aren't that good so far. They're looking to find consistency. They're looking to find victories. So obviously, their dream is to make playoffs, and they've discussed it, but it always seems like an idle hope for them.
It's a sad place to be as well, especially with Maxlord coming onto the team, a guy who had so much success in his first season, a guy we expected to see, you know, kind of an excellent performance coming out. He's really been struggling to find impact, as has the rest of the ROCCAT lineup. And now I think we talked about it in Champion Select. Our eyes are really going to be on this early game. Can ROCCAT play clean? Can they keep even as they have been?
And it obviously starts here with the invade. Maxlor and Foxy looking to get a little ward on a buff. If you place it around 52 seconds, you should always have an idea of where the grave starts, and then you can cater your jungle path around it. Ivern has some flexibility. Basically, when he hits level 3, he can kind of swoop around back to the other side again, or go for a fast smite gank, depending whether he wants to maximize efficiency or have a bit of a gank timing. Obviously, Jankos, his dream is that he can not get any buffs stolen and find a way to invade Ivern as well. So it's always a mind game.
That's everybody's dream when you play against Ivern. Very rarely the case in solo queue, although we do see a lot of Iverns in competitive. Just play to the safe side. Go for the fast early clear, not worry so much about contesting early.
And this is also an evolution we see so often. Right now, ROCCAT, they see the red buff is not being started, so they expect a leash on the side of H2K, but H2K's bot lane is just kind of going to camp the second brush here. So Jankos is solo starting. This is something teams should be ready for, because we have seen it a lot. Grace has an incredibly sustainable clear, but it's going to be very hard for the ROCCAT lanes right now to kind of survive. And it's also good to do versus Ivern, because Ivern doesn't need a leash. That sometimes shifts matchup. If you have a winning matchup where you have to go help your jungler, the opponents could get an advantage. So Jankos selecting to take a slightly slower path in benefit of his lanes.
And of course, one of the many perks of the new jungle pathing for Graves is that he only has to fight a single monster at a time for the bottom side clear. So much easier to be healthy on that clear. Now H2K have gotten push priority as a result of that early bush control, and I mean, it looks good for them so far.
And you see the adaptation in terms of skill points as well. Che here starting with Malefic Visions as opposed to spawning a Voidling, because if you're going to play that push-centric style, there's no point for you to spawn Voidlings as they get one-shot by the turret. You're just going to go for a little bit of harass over time and going to force Yarnan to farm under turret, or poke with Deed out if he does want to help Yarnan with CS. And then again, second skill, Q right there. He's really not interested in the traditional Voidling approach here because he's going to be so push heavy.
Yeah, just looking to reset the Malefic Visions, get down a little bit of extra poke there. Honestly, a solid start so far, but of course not going to see too much action here on the bottom side, at least not until Jankos makes his appearance known. And for now, Ivern continues with a steady early clear.
Yep, steady early clear here. Jankos playing around the possibility of his red being stolen as well, just by power farming, I think. Not losing out anything. He's actually on pace to kind of match this Ivern pick overall. This is the point of contention where we usually see the Krugs being stolen. This happens almost every single Ivern game where Ivern wants to walk in, but because Grace has such a fast clear and Jankos still has smite, he will actually not succeed, I think.
Of course, still has to set it up to smite it away, so does not have the luxury. Maxlor potentially caught out here.
Maxlor's level 3 versus, ooh, the respect flash. That's rough. You're playing this jungler that is known for its fast pacing, efficient clearing, and honestly, really easy gameplay, and then Jankos is outpacing him on the Graves without a leash.
And it's really interesting, too, because it's not like he skipped a camp to get ahead of it. He just full cleared. He did every single camp on the way there.
He skipped his own Krugs, you know. That's the thing. He made the decision of going to contest the Graves, and it may show some being not so familiar with the matchup, because Ivern wants to do that against a lot of slow clearing junglers to then mess with him on Krugs. But in this particular matchups, it seems that it was the wiser choice to actually go for his Krugs instead.
Maxlor getting the bad half of that deal overall, now forced to back in plain sight, so H2K have the knowledge and the comfort to push up their lanes to put pressure down here.
Exactly, and that's also a nice example of good team communication by H2K. He spotted top left. He knows, then Jankos knows that there's only one camp remaining for this guy, which is the Krugs bottom right. Well, bot lane is perma pushing, they invade, and they get full knowledge on the jungler in the first 5 minutes of the game, which makes it very easy to play League if you know where the enemy jungler is.
I would love to know where the enemy jungler is.
You can! With 2 deep wards, you too can know where the enemy jungler is.
You're saying I have to get better to know where the jungler is? I'd like to know now, Crepo.
Well,
and Betsy
Betsy
like
knows.
to know. Yeah, finding out the hard way, Jankos moving, and that's actually a lot of damage. Feven gets a little aggressive there, but not going to pursue it with the flash.
And again, these pushing lanes, Jankos is free to roam into the enemy jungle. He too would like to drop a ward, has 1 stack left. And he can path down if he wants. He's just looking for camps that will respawn soon. Raptors are up now. And Jay peeling off here, good support jungle synergy. Now it's up to Nuclear to play safe. He could technically get flashed on if they know Che is missing rather.
Going in, Feven getting a little aggressive there, but Trigger Seed not going to do any damage. And now Che on the way up. Jankos coming in as well, and Che has been a monster this week so far.
Yeah, but look what he's doing here, Che. He's moving ahead of the enemy support, which means that there's never a 3 versus 2 collapse from ROCCAT. This is all playing in unison, and it looks like he's not doing much, but it's providing support that allows Feven to kind of play aggressive. Because Feven is leaning towards the side where Jankos is, and Jankos knows he's not to be afraid of a roaming support, because Che peeled off much sooner than Wadid.
Yeah, allowing Force setting up that aggression. Corki now pushing out the mid wave. Rise gets a decent back. Not a whole ton lost on the side of ROCCAT, but H2K is still clearly in control. Once again, a story of small advantages here.
Yeah, small advantages, very objective focus. The bot lane turret tier 1 is what they're aiming for. H2K is so good at getting it. I think 11 in 13 games they've gotten first turret overall on the map. That's been dropped 1 versus Vitality, 1 versus G2 Esports. So incredibly impressive rate so far, and they're repeating it again.
Interesting to see too as well. 6-minute mark was well away from the 10-minute mark, but one of the big things we talked about was that the ROCCAT lanes generally tend to stay even. But right now, H2K building a decent lead for themselves on the bottom side of the map. They're going to have to be careful though. Snare goes down onto Che. Maxlor on the way in. Trigger Seed. Che's going to be triggered after that. Spit back into the team. Exhaust comes down. Double TP. Hjarnan running for his life. Odo's here as well. So is Faxi. First blood drops for the Tahm Kench. Now going to trade 1 back in exchange, but has Odoamne given his life. Trigger Seed drops. The challenge has been issued. Odo drops in the end. That's great for ROCCAT.
And this is exactly what we need to see more from ROCCAT. Organized group plays, hitting their weaknesses and helping their bot lane hide their weakness in terms of being pushed in here. The immediate reaction here, good gank timing from Maxlor. It was warded out from Che and Nuclear. We can criticize that one large ward location later on. We'll definitely see it in the replay because they saw the Iron coming, it was simply too late. If you're that far pushed up, you need a ward on where the Scuttlecrat dies, not any farther into the river because it's essentially useless then. A really quick teleport from Faxi, and Betsy also roamed down much faster than Feven. So this was a controlled kind of all-in bot lane with teleport for ROCCAT, and we haven't really seen that too often from them.
Take a look at it one more time. Ward.
So this is where they see him. It's already too late, right? If Wadid flashes in with the exhaust, Che can never flash out of range, and then he gets devoured. At this point, I think it's better to yield a 1 for 0 and actually complete your teleports, because you're only going to snowball Faxi here.
Terrifying spot to be. Foxy and Odo both level 6, and of course, makes it so easy for Fjord to just run into collapse. You can see there, as you mentioned, Betsy ahead. Feven not even leaving the mid lane in that exchange.
No, once you know you're out-roamed, there's no point chasing because the action is obviously over rather fast in this early game. So it's a great move. It equalizes the gold. Bang on even right now. And also nullifies a bit of the pressure. Because it's more of a war of attrition when you're being pushed in the bot lane. So this is a really good moment to breathe for the ROCCAT bot lane.
Have to be happy with it. Of course, no sizable advantage for them quite yet. Like you said, mostly a difference of pressure, an additional longsword to back it up, but traded off from a tier. The CS differential keeps Nuclear just slightly in the lead overall.
Yeah. So Maxlor will definitely have to revisit that lane with Daisy to prevent the turret from falling, or they need to make a play somewhere on the map, maybe with the package to kind of break open, or with the Rise ultimate rather, because the package is on the side of H2K. But that's something they then have to be careful for on the side of ROCCAT. Because that is the ideal dream play for H2K was a little bit later, getting the package off Febiven, so he can actually accelerate the roam versus the rise, be bot lane much faster, have the play be initiated by Jankos instead, and then take bot lane turret. That is kind of the play pattern that H2K is looking for.
Haven't found an opportunity yet, and it's interesting because ROCCAT are found success on that early bottom lane play before the level 6 mark for so many of their champions. Tahm Kench, no Abyssal Voyage to set up a secret approach on the jungle gank. They're finding advantages without those semi-global abilities, and that means it's only going to get easier if they can kind of remain playing at the level that they have so far.
I like this from Maxlord grouping with his middle laner just to push out. It's all about pressure at this point. Pressure is what generates you kills. You won't find them out of the blue. So if you can't gank a lane, just helping your laner reset. That's why Fevin's walking up in the mid lane right now. He cancelled Betsy's base. And it's little advantages, small victories. That's what you're looking for.
Fevin hanging out in his own little brush in the mid lane. Curtain Call coming out to clear the pressure. There's the Tahm Kench going in on the backside, delivering Daisy. And Shay is the one who's left all alone. Will use the ultimate there, but he is now doomed to fall. Exhaust goes down. Staring contest going to complete, but not in the favor of H2K. Maxlord picks up another one.
Yeah, H2K need to cross map here and get something in the top lane, because that was a really good setup, because even with mediocre execution, ROCCAT still convincingly pull ahead there. But right now the answer is obviously you lose bot side, you need to make a win on the top side. Faxi stayed, and Fevin's roaming top.
He has flash, he has all. What is he going to do? Parries a little bit, but he's not going to be enough. No mana here to cast the ultimate whatsoever. Does manage to lay it down, but cannot use any other skills. He's going to drop, but nice play to lower the health bars, H2K.
And that's a really good reaction from H2K, but it also shows a tad the inexperience of the ROCCAT roster. It is very greedy to stay at your turret right there when you're looking at the map and what you just did. You spend all your resources on the bottom side. You need to yield in the top side. You can't just expect to outplay. This is not solo queue.
Foxy a little greedy there in the end, but Wadid maybe hoping to punish H2K, who now have also stayed a bit too long. Red buff triggering down. Gonna snare him up, gonna lock him out. Odo drops as well. ROCCAT once again with a kill lead.
Yeah, and they're fighting. This is good to see from ROCCAT. A lot more proactivity. We can excuse Faxi maybe staying. That was a good reaction.
Void Swarm gets laid down. Malefic Visions as well, now pulling back. Both teams seem so ready to fight, so ready to set up around these objectives. And I mean, surprised to see that a turret hasn't dropped for either side yet. Both teams contesting everything.
But they're being chipped though. Mid lane turret down to 35% right now. Bot lane is actually not as chipped as you would expect. But right now it's all about the threat of the Abyssal Voyage for ROCCAT. They can do so much with this ultimate from Tahm Kench. Deliver any member, keep basing, keep switching the lanes up, you know, surprise people, and suddenly Abyssal Voyage comes out where you don't expect it. Point and click snare on Rise. Almost point and click follow-up on Maxlord plus Daisy, so that's the combo they're looking for.
I mean, so easy to get the setup if they can keep the pressure up in the lanes. For now, they're on the back foot on the top side, but arriving to the lane to match the duos. Bot lane now becomes our top lane,
Yep.
Our top lane fight.
I'm also glad to see no QSS rush against this Malzahar by Hjarnan, not following in the wake of Steelback, actually building lethality items, which are really strong.
I like them. We heard about it. 60% up front, 40% later. We'll look to get a little more than that. Maybe it's Odo's turn to overstep, his turn to overstay. Odoamne getting cut down slowly but surely. Daisy dishing out the damage, and they are going to take him down in the end. ROCCAT popping off, but H2K are on the top side.
Yeah, they're racing for first turret now. Feviven should get in the mid lane, so this is actually not as good of a trade, especially if Feviven can roam from mid to top right after, because with the silence and the fact that they can actually make somebody perma-locked down with the Varus Malzahar combo, this could actually be a more beneficial trade for H2K on the back end of the play. Let's see what happens.
Jankos is here. He's moving in. They have the ultimate from the Malzahar. They're not going to use it yet, though. They're just going to take the tower. ROCCAT learning from their past mistakes. They back off.
And this is the beauty of a good pressure game. Even when you get surprised, your cross-map can net you more advantages, because his first turret gold plus another turret worth of gold versus a single kill on a turret. So that's definitely a win, unless they lose mid here. And that may have been a pathing mistake for Feviven.
Once again, the smart rotation coming in using the Abyssal Voyage. A TP is here. Will finish in the end. H2K ready to fight for this one. ROCCAT not taking the risk.
Yeah, technically speaking, Feviven could have been here, but the speed at which ROCCAT are making decisions is honestly unparalleled compared to their previous week. So I'm really glad to see this improvement. Look at it. Decisive flash in, snare like this. It all looks so easy, but the beauty is in the fact that they're doing this together, peeling away, knowing that they may lose mid turret. They're also yielding top tower pressure really early. There's still good trades from H2K because H2K played the early game so well. But ROCCAT, the fact that they're staying even while being at such a large pressure deficit is impressive.
Interesting shift, though, because we do see the CS differential in the bottom lane continue to grow in the favor of Nuclear. Now, Nuclear has been playing incredibly well, but, I mean, what is ROCCAT? Is ROCCAT giving anything up in exchange for all these kills, all these bloody trades, or is this just kind of a difference in the comfort and laning phase?
Yeah, they have been giving up. Well, the draft is what makes them give up CS, right? Obviously, you could technically play this perfect, but when you play Jhin versus Varus, you're already at a minor mismatch. And then when you match a melee support versus a Malzahar, you're obviously going to get pushed in and drop CS. So that's to be expected. He also backed off from the top lane turret instead of dying right there. ROCCAT bot lane did not make the mistake that Faxi made. So as a team, they are learning and adapting. But can they keep this proactivity up, or will they settle in their old ways?
This is something we talk about when we look at teams. In scrims, you rehearse the early game over and over and over again. Every team has so much experience in that area, but when you get to the mid game, the late game, the rosters that haven't been together as long do tend to struggle. But ROCCAT usually struggling much more.
Yeah. Like in half their games that they've played up to this point, they were behind more than 2,000 gold at 15 minutes, and it's so hard to play that game then. Everybody that you walk into could duel you, so you always have to yield the pressure. When somebody walks up to you like, no, after you. You have to be polite when you ROCCAT. In 5 out of 10 games. Now, they're actually even, so this is a much different environment. They also have a comp with a purpose, they have clear win conditions, and they've shown good communication, so a lot more is possible for this ROCCAT roster this game.
Now moving down to take an Ocean Drake as well. One that's solid to have in the early game, and as long as the gold remains even, it'll be a pure benefit on their side. H2K not in a position to take anything else in exchange.
Yeah, and it's a good dragon to have early game as well versus a poke comp. Love me some Oceans. And they've initiated a 1-3-1 protocol as well. Tom Kench, such a great support in the 1-3-1 composition as well.
Will allow you to move between those lanes so very quickly, but H2K now focusing their attention on the top side, moving up, maybe hoping to mitigate some of the strengths of this Fiora.
Yes, exactly. If they can get this buff to the Maokai, which you can get very quickly with all these Voidlings, stab him in the eye every time. Get the Herald. Poor guy.
You just gotta feel bad, you know? Nature helps you evolve, magic helps you evolve, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna give you a giant eye on your back.
You would think that over time, you know, with the laws of evolution, as like Rift Heralds eventually would spawn 2 eyes, also one not located on its back.
We posted recently we have 100 million concurrent players. How many Rift Heralds do you think die a day? I feel like at this point they would lose the weak eye on the back.
Nope, still get poked into it every single time. It hurts. Poked myself in the eye today. Can't confirm.
You live a difficult life, Crepo. Truly
Getting
full of
dressed
struggle.
is surprisingly hard if you have physical capabilities of a caster. Anyways, ROCCAT still fighting.
Maybe looking for greater opportunities. Once again, the gold basically dead even. Small differences here, but nothing too relevant at this stage.
Yeah, and now we see something that H2K have been working on, which is also hard with their composition. It is incorporating side lane farm in their mid game.
Pulling back now, though. Have to be safe. Redemption coming out. H2K getting aggressive on the mid lane, and ROCCAT really not comfortable to trade here.
Yeah, because this lane matchup is exactly what ROCCAT want. They want Fiora to be dueling with her teleport on the bottom side of the map versus Maokai. They want this Ryze on a side lane to keep the map open, so this is H2K's least preferred map configuration. It doesn't mean they can't play it, but it's not what their comp really wants to do. Their comp wants to play 4-1. That's why Fevin neutralized the wave rather, and he's peeling off right now to come join this mid lane siege.
And a lot of confidence coming in from H2K as well. Not too worried about the damage, the return. Shay flanking on the side. Jankos.
You say flanking, but it's incredibly risky, and you have to be very aware of the vision when you do that. Oh! He's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Varus. We've all experienced it. We didn't expect always to see it here, but...
We always talk European sniper, American sniper, but Korean snipers, man. They're so good that they forget. They make Yarn forget to press heal and flash. That's how good they are.
That... All right, we're going to have to focus back because Betsy's getting taken down here. H2K are blowing the map wide open.
Another Korean sniper comes in, suppresses.
ROCCAT are not happy with this. They're going to make moves of their own. Odoamne potentially going to get taken down here. Healing field does drop at the tail end of that Fiora ultimate. Foxy now pulling back. Maybe looking to find the fight onto Jankos, but no engage opportunities. H2K,
and
this is huge.
This is huge. You say it right there. It's such a massive opening right now. They killed 2 crucial players. They get another turret in the top side. They negate the snowball opportunity for Faxi. Things are looking so horrible right now for ROCCAT.
And the map just goes wide open. 1 kill drops in the mid lane. Suddenly they can go, oh yeah, we're going to go in on top lane. ROCCAT respond, but nothing happens.
That's what you want in 1-3-1. You want to kill one guy so you can force numbers advantages somewhere. And it is the hard part for ROCCAT. The main weakness in their 1v1 comp is that they have very limited wave clear, right? So if you look at who's defending the mid wave, it's Ivern, Tahm Kench, and Jhin. So we can actually just say Jhin. He's solo clearing mid waves, which means every time he walks up for CS, he gets an arrow in the face. Understandable. But then, when you're not walking up to CS, try and use your heal. Generally keeps you alive.
Sidestep. I mean, there's options, right?
Flash, base, or die.
He chose die this time. I don't think he'll choose that next time.
I don't think he'll be choosing anymore because ROCCAT right now are 3,000 gold behind. It's H2K that make the choices.
Setting us up. Curtain call goes in, just clearing a wave.
That's wave clear.
That's
it's
true.
Safe wave clear.
Krepo, I don't think that's the ideal use of the curtain call, though. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, maybe you know more than I do, but that doesn't feel good to me.
It doesn't feel ideal, but it actually was a solution previously. If you had to clear a wave and he was at threat of dying or using stumps, using curtain call to clear a wave is acceptable in this comp.
Is that the moment where you like do the classic tanky support body block?
Yeah.
Poor Che. Not a tanky support.
Has a passive.
True.
Blocks
one shot.
All it takes is one shot.
One opportunity. ROCCAT need to find an opportunity, though, as we move into the mid-game. 20-minute mark, and H2K holding on to a 2K gold lead. The split push is working out well so far, but it's H2K who we have to wait to our response from.
I like it. It's pretty aggressive to go for this turret, but they know they have the Tahm Kench ultimate to kind of rotate from mid to top. This is actually a really nice opening. This is something you wouldn't expect from a team that just made such a big mistake. And the river vision in around Baron is actually pretty nice. They just lost a few control wards to Che clearing them, but overall, ROCCAT is still hanging in there nicely. It all depends right now. Can Faxi keep beating Odoamne's Maokai? Yeah, look at it.
And I mean, it looks good right now. He finished the Black Cleaver. He's on his way to the Ravenous Hydra. Maokai forced to build some MR for the coming fights means that Fiora will have a better 1v1 matchup. So I feel like the other question for H2K is where can they find an opportunity for Odo to get out of that lane, to get into team fights, to force something
I mean,
on.
that's a teleport, right? All he needs to do is neutralize. It's more up to Che and Nuclear to provide the crowd control effects. Che has a lot of agency in this game because there's nobody building a QSS just yet. So he could really open up and swing picks, especially in a map so divided. If Feviven can ever peel off, disappear into Fog of War, which again is probably Che's job to do as well with the vision. He is a very crucial player for H2K right now.
Keep your eyes on the Malzahar. As always, Nethergraph, such an important ability. The potential to lock down, shut down any one member of the ROCCAT lineup.
The random control ward in the Russian mid lane. I like this, the switch up from Feviven right here. He knows there's a lot of distance to cover for Betsy to push all the way to the top side. Betsy will likely do it slowly too. So they're moving for a bit of a gank or maybe a dragon attempt.
Looks like they may be shifting the lane.
Yeah, they're shifting the lane matchups to secure dragon, most likely.
Second Ocean on the board, maybe not looking to give that one up. Not as crucial as we move further into the game, but good to have. That's a solid engage onto Wadid. He's in trouble. Daisy's still swinging away. Maxlore still up, but Wadid does drop. Jankos on the front lines. That's big. In goes Febby. Double kill for Jankos. The red buff ticks down. The arrow lands true, and Nuclear gets another one.
Superb usage of the package and the Nethergraphs. This was a coordinated H2K catching ROCCAT off guard, despite all the information technically being present to ROCCAT. They force the engage on one guy, but they don't blow too much because they know Devour's available. Chase played so much Tahm Kench that he knows if he Nethergrasps Maxwell right there, it's a waste. Then they one-shot the Tahm Kench, not allowing him to use his thick skin right there, and then Feviven comes sweeping him because Betsy is nowhere near to be found.
Excellent play going in. Once again, the confidence from Feviven on this Corki to leap under a tower to secure those kills.
And we see that ROCCAT is still struggling in the mid game because having your Ryze that far up in the top lane is acceptable as long as you're careful mid. So you need to make a choice right now. If you're ROCCAT, you can't have Ryze aggressively push top lane, and you can't be aggressive in the mid lane at the same time. It's just simply not allowed in terms of League of Legends macro. Because it's too easy for H2K to do exactly this.
Maybe lulled into feeling safe that they were just going to continue to play out the game as it has been, forgetting for a moment how much damage is present on this H2K lineup.
Yeah, and if you elect not to build Quicksilver Sash against the Malzahar, you need to be ready for these type of engages.
Well, Woodley's getting shot down. Dragon steadily falling. H2K don't want to take any risks here. Don't want to give it up. 4K gold lead now matching the Ocean Drake of ROCCAT.
Yep, and there's no Baron Rush potential because it's been taken, which means H2K can more comfortably play the game on 2 lanes right now. Because the payoff of playing on 3 lanes isn't there for ROCCAT anymore, especially when they're this pushed in. Look how far Betsy would have to push to make it all the way to tier 2 in the top lane. H2K says, you know, we're just going to clear mid with Feven, keep those minions alive. He's actually getting engaged on right now.
Oh, Feven running, but Che on his way in, as is Yankos. Talked about the agency that Che has, and now this is just a feeding ground for him. He can go in anywhere, pick off anyone, and right now H2K have got their sights set on the bottom side.
Group Siege, you have probably a 2-second silence almost. Yep, 5 points into that Q here from Che. Switched 3 points into Voidlings, then 5 points into his Q. He has a 2-second silence. You have a massive tank and 3 great poke champions.
No engage coming quite yet. Nice silence onto the front lines. Maxlor's in trouble, will get eaten up. Arrow does land, snares up a couple members as well, but the turret slowly and steadily falling. H2K are going to grab this one.
Yeah, and the counter to a poke comp is either brute force all in or just let it be. You're not going to win if you take it slow. Look at Hyard at half HP. ROCCAT may as well yield.
Snare onto Odo, not the member that you want to hit. Arrow charging up, nuclear. Does not going to connect onto anyone. Odo maybe going to get taken down. Foxy gets dropped as well. 1-for-1 trade.
Good pickoff right there. Nuclear is strong though. He is the man to watch in these fights, dealing so much damage.
Watch the arrow. Where's it going to go? Healing reduction down onto Maxlor as well. Exactly where they want to be. Inhibitor's now going to fall as well. H2K slowly bleeding them out. They need the fight. Che going in. Nice denial by Wadid. Running back, trying to get Betsy to safety, but they can't keep this one going. Wadid has to give his life. Betsy may give it 2. Arrow goes down, ticking, but does make it down to the fountain.
Yeah, good decision making there from H2K. It doesn't matter that he gets devoured. All that matters is that Betsy gets CC'd when he rushes into you, so he can then target other people, either by Nethergrasp or by his allies Devour. And right now the base is open for H2K.
25 minutes. Betsy trying to clean up house. Yanko's going to get taken down. Che next on the menu. Bevan running forward. Who's he going to kill first? Yarden goes down. Can he get Betsy 2? Exhaust onto him. That's going to do it. Betsy running, and it's the triple. He's looking for the quadra. Just going to tick him down. Nice defense.
I mean, you got saved once. You can't do it twice. H2K going for the straight finish when basing was a much better call here. This is scrim behavior, and they know. Look at it. Look at the player camps. They're laughing because they know they went for a greedy finish when there was absolutely no need to. If they just base right there, they go mid and top, this game is over. 100%.
Now, of course, Betsy picks up 4 more kills, but is this going to be the defining moment? Is that quadra kill going to turn it back for ROCCAT?
It could be the tipping point if H2K keeps kind of what we say, trolling. You know, if they keep playing loose and they get caught off guard by a good Realm Warp or a good Abyssal Voyage, it's technically possible, which usually is the best kind of possible. But look at it, the setup right here. It starts seemingly well, but once Faxi drops, it's really easy for Che to just keep his eyes on Betsy. All he has to do is stop Betsy if Betsy goes in. He can't overstep himself. Let's pause all of a sudden. Then Betsy goes in.
Freeze frame.
Freeze frame right here. Zoom in, enhance. Well, he flashes even for it. But Betsy is now CC'd by his own teammates. And 2 of his teammates die in the process because he can't obviously do any return damage. At this point, H2K, you base, you go mid-top. You do a 4-1 siege with automatic minion pressure in bot lane. These guys are just trying to keep it short.
I mean, respect. 25-minute marks looking to end the game before we hit 26. No longer going to be the case.
Some disgusting bounces, though. I like that Feven goes for enemy AD carry right there, and he almost would have finished off Betsy if it wasn't for the exhaust.
I mean, such a powerful spell, especially in those circumstances as well. Just shutting down the entire burst rotation of the Corki. Realm Warp comes in. This could be the opportunity.
They have to try. They have to do something.
Redemption goes in. H2K not taking the bait. H2K not taking the fight, but they have the package. Maybe looking for the re-engage instead.
They're still in Abyssal Voyage. I'm kind of disappointed Faxi wasn't here with the team, because you know you're going to have to pull the trigger. And I would just deliver Faxi one side, Realm Warp the other, and just brute force all in. Because right now you have one of your warps disabled. H2K can play a lot more comfortable.
And pushing forward, Maokai's with them as well. Odo happy to be there. QSS available for Wadid as well as Betsy and Foxy. No one is going to get locked down here. Tom Kench will make sure of it if the individual solo laners do not.
Yes, but there's still the silence. It's sometimes really deceptive how strong that can be, so we need to track if Jake can land some of those in the fights.
Running forward, Daisy just going to be body blocking, no damage coming out. Betsy on the side, going on to nuclear, not going to find the opportunity. ROCCAT pulling back, that's so much poke damage. Graves' ult comes out, will not be enough. Deadly Flourish not going to connect, and H2K, the slow, steady siege.
Yep.
Been a lot cleaner after the quadra for Betsy in the base.
They're slowing down. There's obviously no more Baron buff. Things getting needlessly hard and complicated. Probably will likely have a stern word with the H2K lineup after that one.
Well, the slow siege continues. At the end of the day, they are still setting up for the wind. Imagine it'd be a much less stern word than if they were to get over-aggressive here. Yeah.
No, for H2K, it's good to bide their time. They can obviously punish ROCCAT if ROCCAT walk forward. But obviously, in a map so wide open, there are opportunities for ROCCAT to pursue.
One of those opportunities is going to have to be the Baron. 37 seconds out until it will spawn. Infernal Drake up as well. They really can't afford to put their vision anywhere other than in that pit. And this is pretty much the do or die moment. If it wasn't clear that H2K were already set to win this game, if they take this next Baron, it will be confirmed. And if ROCCAT can steal it, if ROCCAT can look for a fight, find an opportunity here, maybe they can win out.
Not quite Cody Sun levels of Varus Poke, but Nuclear still doing a great job. Topping the charts right there.
Good to see. Once again, I mean, Nuclear, insane game against G2, of course, finding the early lane advantages. This time, the arrows just continue to land true in the fights, but...
No, H2K definitely, everybody did their role. Everybody knew their job. They fell behind due to a few nice plays from ROCCAT, but overall, they had the bigger picture in mind. They played their strategy well. They didn't tunnel into the 1-3-1. They didn't try to match. They peeled away. And then on kind of item spikes as well as package spikes, they switched up the map and surprised more than once.
Items across the board for them look very good right now. Of course, you can see the respect for the Ivern composition coming out in the itemization present. Executioner's calling.
Yeah, when you play versus potentially 2 redemptions, you want some heal reduction. It's a standard, obviously. Edge of Night, super strong if you can build it. If your champion has some use for this item, build this item.
Yeah, believe it or not, 30-second spell shield on top of lethality.
Well, 10-second spell shield
10 seconds every 30 seconds.
Is nasty. And then really good utility build from Che, just running over it. This is the 3-item maximum DPS spike Corki build. H2K peeling off Nashor here. Good vision toggle right there. We can see the pressure that ROCCAT is under right now. Brushes give vision, I think, for the first 3 seconds, but then they become just brushes. So you're actually working against yourself here if you're ROCCAT and you're spawning brushes for vision, because you help yourself right now, but you hurt yourself in the future. It's like a bad credit loan.
The payday loans, man.
Payday loans.
They need the vision. They need the vision now.
They need the vision now. They don't care about 3 seconds from now. Damn.
They're going to care about 3 seconds now because they're missing a member, and this tower's going to need to get defended. Wadid is all alone, and Jankos is unconcerned.
It's a bit in too deep, though.
Daisy on the side, Trigger Seed going in. Odoamne ready to TP on the backside. Betsy's taking a lot of damage. The healing reduction is down as well, but suddenly it's Odo all alone.
Oh, Foxy!
Che! Oh, gonna get burned through. Foxy's popping off. Exhaust does drop. That's a little too deep. Flank does come out. It is the 1-for-1 in the end. H2K biding their time, pushing forward.
But yeah, you can see how close it's getting here. Imagine if 1 or 2 members a little lower, and Foxy gets a slightly better entry point into the fight.
Looks good overall. Taking Che off means the Nether Grasp is off the table as well. Maybe easier for them to find engagement, but top laner for support, not the trade they want.
Don't hit the ward if you're going to do Baron.
Now moving forward. Oh. I mean, it's like this brief moment of calm, but you both know, you just know that the teams are ready for Baron.
This is the moment where H2K truly realized maybe we should have not greeted for the Nexus. And we've all been there in solo queue. Ah, this game is over. Ah, this game is not so over. Oh dear, don't tell me we're throwing. Ah, we threw.
Well,
ROCCAT going for Panic Baron.
Steadily getting lower. Healing reduction drops as Nuclear gets the arrow across the team. Lots of poke damage going in. Jankos on the front line. Oh, that's a lot of damage. Max Lord down next. They're just cleaning house. 2 down for him in the end. Is any CC going to land? No. Shut down. Doesn't even make it out. Yep. 1 realm away, not enough to stop the damage from Febiven. Wadid now in trouble, but here comes Foxy once again. There's no exhaust this time to shut him down. He's trying to look for damage onto Jankos, but there's 3 members here. Che's just biding his time, doesn't even burn the ult.
Yeah, panic play at the end there from ROCCAT. They were biding their time, hoping to just get a really good window on guest base timings. It was enough, though. In the end, H2K take it, but they left some wiggle room for ROCCAT, and that's going to be a good mental boost, I think, for ROCCAT for the second game.
Need to come in with clear thoughts, clear plans in the next game. Similar story for H2K, and while it was mostly clean, 1 or 2 mistakes could leave openings in the future.
Much more resilient ROCCAT. They too try to have clear calls, good plans. They try to channel their inner CLG, but sometimes they still struggle while doing that.
I mean, okay, I'm not gonna. CLG's having a hard enough time in NA. They do not need me to be one of them anymore.
See, good coach taps his players twice with the notebook. Take note.
Oh wait, I think that was 3 times though.
No, everybody got 2 taps.
I think that was 3 on me.
Oh, favoritism for Probably.
Favoritism.
Things going downhill here.
The rising star, no longer non-biased.
Yeah. I think things are going to go downhill from here for H2K.
Ah, clear sign, Krepo.
In equal amount of taps is very worrisome trend. Now, H2K, I think we saw more of the same from them. They played a lot of pressure, which means chip damage, which means eventually if something happens on the map, you always have cross-map potential. Like if there's a full HP turret, you can't take it. We saw that especially when ROCCAT went bot lane. They got a kill on a tower, but then Feven finished off mid lane turret that he prepped so well earlier. So that in itself already is a one trade for H2K, because mid lane turret is much more valuable than bot lane, and you get first turret gold, which is actually what the kill is worth. But then they take another tower on top of that in the top lane, and suddenly, while you're trying to catch H2K, yeah, how about that?
Yeah, it doesn't work out for them in the end, though. For more on how that game one went down, let's send it over to the analyst desk and take a look.
How about that? Definitely not going to catch you outside, but we are going to talk about the game. And I love that you brought it up again, Krepo, how systematically H2K played out this game. And that is exactly what we wanted to look at. They are a team coming into this with fantastic objective control. First in first blood, first tower, and first dragons. And then here, first blood gets taken away from them.
Well, yeah, this is what happens sometimes. You play very standard and so on, and a jungle gank, can always appear. And this time around, ROCCAT picks up the kills for it. But the thing we like about H2K and what we're going to follow is just how they don't panic. Like, they don't try and then suddenly counter-gang a ton of things and be super aggressive all of a sudden. They start cross-mapping. This is just another good setup by ROCCAT, but if you look at the minimap, you can already see now how H2K is saying, okay, we can't play bottom side. We have to start playing on top side. We need to get something in return. And mid lane as well is open because Betty was roaming. And that simply means, well, first tower hasn't gone down just yet. Oh, sadly here for ROCCAT, it actually died in the mid lane before they got it bot lane. Dragon dies. Well, what do? You take the Rift Herald. Again, you always trade cross-map 24/7. You don't panic if you start falling behind to some ganks, because ganks can always happen. Even the worst team in the world can gank SKT and get a kill. But then you got to make sure you don't lose everything else on the map, which is what ROCCAT actually started doing.
And on top of that, Fiora got a kill there in that bottom lane gank, so you'd be afraid of if she get the upper hand in the lane versus Maokai, so that Rift Herald doubly pays out.
Exactly, just even more value. Normally you take Rift Herald because there's nothing else on the map, but in this case here, to try and stop a split pusher, it buys you a little bit more time, or I'm to stay alive for longer, which again allowed the rest of H2K to make plays, and that's exactly what we started seeing once we get out of the laning phase.
Definitely, 3 kill deficit, but no gold deficit, and then H2K have already taken down the first tower. They have Rift Herald. They still have control. So the minute they get a snipe, they know how to capitalize.
Exactly. Like, this is obviously a big mistake from Yanan, having both summoners up, just not expecting to get hit there. But as soon as they get that one kill, on your minimap, you can see Che on the Malzahar, instantly moves to the top side. Betsy here makes one of these classic mistakes we see where you lose control of the mid lane and you still try and step forward in your side lane, and he just gets ganked instantly. Top tower goes down. And it looks so simple, because it is so simple if you just play it by the book. So when you get that advantage mid, if the enemy is then overextending in the side lane, you just move over there, you kill the guy, you take the tower. And it's not flashy, but it's so effective.
And we also got to point out it is simple, but it is made simpler, of course, because they are not playing versus a top opponent. It is much easier to execute that game plan when there aren't as many counter moves coming out of the opposite team.
Sure, obviously Yanan should never die there in the first place, and then Betsy shouldn't step forward when Yanan has already died. So just some mistakes there from ROCCAT, but I think it's just cool because we see this from H2K like so often that they do. It's not just random, it's like really planned out, and that is like the good macro we often highlight.
Definitely, and they already were in a good position, but then in the end they know that they can engage mid lane, they pull the trigger for the team fight, follow it up with Baron, and boom, done deal.
Yeah, kind of the same thing again where Betsy is split pushing right now, so H2K, they know, okay, we're gonna have a numbers advantage if we go for this. Package comes in from Feb event, and there's just zero chance here for ROCCAT to actually win the fight, because they're never 5 members, and H2K, they know that, and that's why they know, okay, we have package timing, Odamne is on his way down, could even have teleported if needed, he didn't have to. So they just get like this very clean engage into Baron, and yeah, it's not a clown fiesta at all.
No.
It's really simple. It's
beautiful to see the execution.
It's the beautiful rotations and everything, and it's why, you become a top team.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. Of course, you could say, well, H2K, why don't you just go ham and pick some crazy things? But I like that they're just trying to cement the way that they know how to play the game and play it out cleanly. We'll see what happens in the next game. I mean, I might want to see them going crazy, but how, as a ROCCAT, do you disrupt this? Because in their head, probably they say, well, we got that gank, we got first dragon, okay, first tower fell, but what more can they do to kind of be counteractive?
in a game like this, it honestly comes down to them, and this is not something you can fix just going into game 2, but because it would come down to you just being as good as good at playing the map as H2K are. Because where ROCCAT started faltering was when H2K would move and cross map, ROCCAT wouldn't follow fast enough, and they would give them suddenly an advantage mid lane for Febvin or top lane. They would pick up a kill they didn't have to give away, and some of those small mistakes cost them. But I think ROCCAT should keep trying to gank. They should keep trying to play aggressive early
Snowball
game.
more.
They have to almost try and just like super snowball in the early game.
Would you rather see a Kha'Zix except for that, like Ivern? Because you know
Actually,
you probably
yes.
won't get to the point where it's valuable.
Most European teams, Ivern is fantastic on. ROCCAT, who's trying to beat a top team, a macro-heavy top team, no. Just honestly, go for Kha'Zix, go for early game junglers who can really snowball, play aggressive lanes. I like the Fiora pick here. They got kills on it as well. That was actually a clear win condition. Sadly for them, the rest of the team then started dying a lot and they lost almost every tower, so Foxy never got to actually be a proper split pusher. I think we just have to see like risky picks, try and go for the high reward plays early. Yes, if it backfires, you lose, but you will probably lose anyway.
Yeah, well, there we go. We'll see what happens. We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have game 2 between H2K and ROCCAT.
How do you say hello in Lebanese?
Marhaba.
Lebanon, I mean.
Marhaba.
Marhaba.
I have no spit.
Marhaba, everyone.
Wamne getting cut down slowly but surely. Daisy dishing out the damage, and they are going to take him down in the end. ROCCAT popping off, but H2K are on the top side. All right, we're gonna have to focus back because Betsy's getting taken down here. H2K are blowing the map wide open. That's a solid engage onto Wadid. He's in trouble. Daisy's still swinging away. Maxlore still up, but Wadid does drop. Yanko's on the front lines. That's big. In goes Febby. Double kill for Yankos. Yanko's gonna get taken down. Chain is on the menu. Febvin running forward. Who's he gonna kill first? Yarden goes down. Can he get Betsy too? Exhaust onto him. That's gonna do it. Betsy running an instant triple. He's looking for the quadra. Just gonna tick him down. Nice defense.
Top as well. I'm really strong now.
Oh, that's a lot of damage. Maxlore down next. They're just cleaning house.
No, just end the game, please.